Brody with her father's Hyundai. But his foot slipped off the clutch, and as a result, the transmission was destroyed. He's suing for $1,655, the cost of repairs. This is the defendant, David Kane, and his father, Dennis. He says his foot just slipped off the clutch, which couldn't have really damaged the car, and he figures Juliana's family did in the transmission the next day when they drove it 30 miles instead of having it towed. He's accused of hot rodding in a Hyundai. What you are witnessing is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in a California municipal court. Both parties have agreed to dismiss their court cases and have their dispute settled here in our forum, the People's Court.
Hello, I'm Doug Llewellyn, and welcome to the People's Court. This is the case of the Brody Bunch. Now, the plaintiff claims that he is furious with the defendant for showing off and for doing tricks, especially since he had been grounded and shouldn't have been driving anybody's car. The defendant insists he wasn't driving carelessly or doing tricks, and he doesn't for a minute think the damage was his fault. So let's find out more about these teenagers' tricks as the litigants talk to Judge Wapner.
I know you've all been sworn, and I have read your complaint, sir. You claim that the minor defendant here abused your vehicle and destroyed the transmission?
Yes, sir, I do. I'd also like to amend my suit to pay off the full amount that it was when I got it out to $1,900.29.
Okay. You actually had it repaired, and that's how much you paid?
Yes, sir.
Do you have the receipt for that?
Yes, sir.
Any objection to the amendment of the complaint?
No.
So ordered.
Your Honor, can I like speak up and I was a witness. I was in the car at the time. Could I like explain like what happened?
You can explain, but not like it happened. You explain what happened, but not like what happened.
Okay. I use the chalkboard.
Can you talk without saying like?
Yeah, sure, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
How old are you?
I'm 18, Your Honor.
How long have you been driving a car?
I've been driving since 17 years old.
You know anything about the mechanical aspects of
I know
a
a little bit, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Would you like me to?
Sure,
okay.
if you have to do that.
All right. What happened was we're coming down a street.
I know you couldn't do it.
Okay. Sorry.
I won't hold it against you, but...
Okay. So the streets go basically like this. This is in Camarillo. And we were coming down the street over here, and it was after a dance. We just went to her high school dance, and we're going to a church dance. So the stake center was over here where the church dance was. We came down the road here. We turned over here.
Who was driving?
Dave over there, the defendant.
Okay.
We turned down the street over here. We came into the parking lot. We kind of when we drove into the parking lot, we stopped, and as we stopped, we just kind of looked at each other and what are you doing? And then that's when Dave did something, and then the car just
What did he do? You don't know it.
It appeared as if he was doing a Brody, and later on he
What's
said
a Brody?
A Brody is when you're trying to peel out in a car, and it makes
What's
rubber.
Peeling out?
Peeling out is when you spin the
You've got to realize, you see, I'm a little bit older than you are.
Okay.
And I don't go to high school dances anymore.
Okay, yes.
So you've got to explain these things to me.
I'm not sure exactly how to do it in a stick, because it's been a while since I've driven one, and I don't do it. You press in, and you everything's the car stopped, and you speed up the car, and you spin the tires really super fast, and it peels out. And
what does peeling out mean?
Peeling out is the back tires spin really fast, and it burns the rubber, and then you take off really super fast.
Just a form of showing off.
Yeah, basically.
Kids do it. I've done it a million times years ago. It's just a form
Still
of...
a kid.
You know, yeah, to some people.
Okay.
So we came into the parking lot.
So that's what he did?
Yes, and he tried to peel out, do a Brody, and take off super fast, show off, whatever you... I'm not sure exactly how to explain it.
Can I ask a question at this point?
Yes, sir.
Did he do that, or did he try to do that? Did he do that?
He did do that, yes.
So the tires squealed, there's rubber marks all over the road?
Okay, what happened, there wasn't the rubber marks, because when he did do it, the car moved about maybe a foot, jolted a couple times, and then died right then.
Did you tell... Wait, sir. Did you tell the mechanic who did this work that the defendant did a Brody on the car?
I explained to him that that's what I had been told that he had done. And the mechanic told me that the input shaft that I have here that goes into the transmission, transaxle, had sheared, and the splines had gone and smashed the ball bearing in there.
What I'm trying to find out is if did his doing, assuming he did a Brody, did his doing a Brody cause all this damage to this
You're
car?
going to have a written statement from that same person.
I'll look at it in a second, sir. Thank you for having it. But I'm trying to find out from him if he's got anything like that.
I don't have a statement from him because at the time he said he did not want to get involved in this. And it was only his opinion as to what
You say you have a statement from him?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
You have a copy for them?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Please hand it to them so they can look at it while I am.
All I say in here is that this can happen. This car was, if I might say it, Your Honor, this car has been in fine mechanical condition.
How old was it?
It's an 88 Hyundai.
How many miles did it have on it?
61,000 at the time. Most of them are freeway miles from Ventura to L.A., where I work, and from...
61,000 miles in what, 3 years? 3 years?
I work in the fire department, so I'm gone 24 hours. I drive a long distance and then come back home. So, and then I
Same
take
long
several
distance?
trips. So then I go on several trips to Vegas, and it is a family car.
Okay. Have you seen this statement that he made?
I have seen it now, yeah.
Okay.
Your Honor, the car's...
What's your relationship to...
I'm her boyfriend, and I was in the car at the time of the incident.
Okay.
Okay, the car was running just fine and everything because she went down to pick me up and stuff, and we did do a little bit of traveling at the time. The car was driving just fine. When David went in to do the Brody and he failed at doing it, that's when the car just broke instantly right then. We couldn't get it to move.
You couldn't drive it from there?
No, you couldn't. We had to push it over to the side of the parking lot. There was a couple friends that do know a little bit about maintenance.
Was it towed from there?
No, it was not towed. We pushed it most of the way.
Physically pushed most of the way, which is about 4 miles.
You mean was it towed to the parking spot, or was it towed after that fact?
Okay,
after that fact.
it broke down.
He wasn't there.
Oh, listen.
Who wasn't there?
The young man speaking wasn't there at that time.
I was there.
Yes,
I was, sir.
He
I
helped us push the car.
I'm talking about when later on, when the car was taken away from that point. You were there?
Yes.
He was there.
It was that night.
So it was that night. Later, after everyone had gone home, I went back
You
to
pushed it all the way. You pushed it 4 miles.
Yes.
Most of the way.
They had to push it to get it going, and once it got going, it would stay going for a while until they come to another stop sign.
coasting.
They would have to get out, push it till it got going again, and then it would drive. But it was locked
You were
in A gear.
driving it.
It was locked in A gear.
She was driving the car.
Excuse me, Judge Wapner. My daughter contacted me that night, and as a parent, I was the one who went to the site. And when I tried to start the car, I put the key in the ignition. The motor was fine. I was not able to take the car out of gear. At that point...
It was stuck in one gear.
Right. And at that point, you could hear the metal grinding against another metal part into the transmission area.
All right, you're David?
Yes.
How old are you, David?
17.
How long had you been driving?
I've been driving about 1.5 years.
You know what a Brody is?
Yes.
How did it get the name Brody? By a fellow named Brody start this thing?
Possible.
Okay. Did you do a Brody on the car?
No, sir. I was driving into the parking lot, just as the diagram shows over there, and I was going at a rather slow speed, so I decided to shift it into first gear, as you would in a manual transmission when you're slowing down to that degree. As I shifted into first gear, my foot slipped a little bit off the clutch, and then the car lurched a little bit, and then it shut off. I thought it stalled, so I attempted to restart it, was not able to restart it, and then had no clue what happened. So with the help of some other friends that were there at the dance at the church building, we managed to push it into a parking spot, and then we proceeded to go ahead and go into the dance.
If you did a real Brody, would there be tire marks on the street or on the area where you were doing the Brody?
Probably, yeah.
There could
Well,
be.
that's the way it's been described to me.
There can be, but if it breaks right away, you're not going to get a foot of scratch marks. Also, at the time after it happened, she went over and asked Dave,
Right after we got out of the car, and we were just standing around waiting and to see what would happen, and I asked Dave, did you try to do a Brody? And he told me yes. At the time, that he
Tried
said
to
he
do a
did.
Brody?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you tell her that you tried to do a Brody?
No.
I think Dave's a little bit afraid of his father right now.
Before
Did the defendant damage the plaintiff's car while trying to peel out? We'll hear more after this.
It's the all-on-sale holiday sale at Montgomery Ward. Friday and Saturday only. Plus, save an extra 10% even on sale prices. Shop Friday evening for an extra 10% off brand name merchandise, including all apparel, all fine jewelry, all home furnishings. Get an extra 10% off all day on the hottest brand names, all electronics, all appliances, and all furniture. Plus 0% interest. Put more under the tree for less at Montgomery Ward. Right now.
If you wear dentures, you know what you've been missing. But at 1-800-DENTIST, we want you to know that there is an alternative. Dental implants. With dental implants, you'll be able to talk, laugh, and eat whatever you want with complete confidence, because dental implants are as strong and solid as natural teeth. To find a dentist in your area qualified to do dental implants, call 1-800-DENTIST today and start enjoying what you've been missing.
When you want to tape your favorite shows, does it turn into a big production? Not with VCR Plus, the one-step programmer that works with your VCR and VCR Plus codes. Those numbers next to the shows in your TV guide and newspaper. Simply punch in the codes for the shows you want to tape. That's it. No more hassles. So program the old way or the fast, easy way with VCR Plus.
The plaintiff says the young defendant ruined his car's transmission, but the defendant says his foot simply slipped off the clutch.
It's different when your foot slips off the clutch and when you deliberately let the clutch.
Where were you
pop
sitting
out.
in the car?
In the back.
In the back?
Yes.
Is there anyone else in the car besides three of you?
Gunnar was in the back with me, and his date was in the front. But she didn't want to be involved.
They're all friends. Dave's still welcome at our home. I just want my car fixed. It was running fine to that point.
Okay. You afraid of your father?
No.
You a monster?
I hope not. I got a couple other things I'd like to show you, Judge.
Sure.
And then I'd like to go to the diagram board for a minute and talk a bit if I can, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
If you look at that repair estimate, you'll find that there is substantial damage in that transmission. And in fact, I have a, Dave, would you hand the diagram of the transmission forward, please? It's a diagram of the transaxle on a Hyundai that I have. And if you compare the parts that were repaired versus the parts on the transaxle, every single component essentially in the transaxle was changed. It cites all the synchronizer gears, it cites the gears, it cites the pinion shaft, it cites the ring gear, it cites the spiders, it cites almost every part in the transmission.
That's right, because the mechanics, they would not warrant you putting used pieces back into the transmission.
So if they're damaged and they have to be replaced by either new or used components, whichever, it means there's some reason to replace them. When you come into out of an engine, you come to a gear, you go through a transmission, it's got several different gears you can select. Whatever gear you're in, even if you're going to do a Brody, whatever the reason, you transfer power to one gear, you couple it to an output shaft, and you go out the back. The other gears are not involved, according to how you engage your transmission, what the synchronizer gears are set up for. The rest of the transmission is to have that transmission moving while the chips are moving around in there. And that's what caused the great lion's share of the damage. However the initial damage occurred, the transmission was destroyed when it wasn't picked up and towed from that point. That's the point I wish to make, Your Honor.
The damage had already occurred, sir. That's why when I arrived at the incident as an adult, I could hear the metal grinding already. I was not able to take my car out of gear. The damage had already occurred.
The car was immovable. You could not move it.
inoperable.
The only thing you could do is maybe push it or coast it.
Well, you said you did drive it some.
We went about 10 miles an hour maximum.
It took them 45 minutes to go about 4 miles by pushing. They were physically pushing
They
it.
pushed the car, and then it would go away, and then it would...
Wait. I can only hear one at a time.
These are splines here that would not line up to make it go into any gear. This is the input shaft that broke, causing these bearings that are on the other side of this to break and shatter. When I drained the oil out of the transaxle, because I told Dave that I would do repairs if he would pay for the parts, and he agreed to that and told us, do not tell his parents because he was on restriction for driving. It didn't matter to me as long as my car got fixed. When I drained the transaxle fluid, and there was nothing but specks of metal and chunks of metal coming out of there, that's when I told him that we had to let his parents know what had happened. This is the main problem, because when you jam this into a gear, going faster than you should. This will jam and just shear those. There's nothing left here for the gears to grab. Everything is gone. And also, when I went to get the car fixed, I didn't ask for a rental car. I had to get another car out that I'd keep on the side of the house and use it to drive back and forth to LA. I didn't ask for 3 weeks worth of rental. And when my daughter was in another accident with Dave driving, he forgot to stop for a car and told the car, we didn't ask for any damages then. All I want is my car fixed properly.
Your Honor, they brought that up, the other accident. My son stopped in the middle of a left turn and got hit. Has nothing to do with how you drive a car from the standpoint of a transmission. Nothing to do with it that I can see.
Had you told him he was under any restrictions in his driving?
He's in and out of restrictions according to what his grade points are and things like that with regard to driving. I don't know if he was... Were you on restrictions at the time?
I don't believe so.
You don't believe so?
No, I don't.
You don't think you'd know that?
I wasn't at the time. I'm sure, otherwise I wouldn't have been going to a dance.
That's true. If he was on restriction, he would have been going to a dance.
Excuse me, when we went over to their house to discuss this, he asked us to tell us the story, and Juliana told the story, and he asked his son, is that basically how you understand it? Dave said yes, and he said, why didn't you tell us? And Dave said, I didn't want you to know because I was on restriction for driving.
I don't recall that at all.
You don't recall that?
You got a brain shortage or
that didn't
something.
happen.
Let me ask you a question then. Assuming that your son said that he was attempting to do a Brody, that he attempted to do a Brody, is that reasonable conduct?
If he was attempting to do a Brody, and if he'd said he was attempting to do a Brody, which means I would then believe it was true, okay, I would think that that was not reasonable conduct. It would be expected from a teenager that age maybe, but not reasonable by my opinion as an adult, okay? But even
because a parent is only liable for the willful misconduct of a minor.
I understand that.
And that's what I'm faced with here. Assuming that he said he was attempting to do a Brody and he's going to do a Brody, is that willful misconduct?
Is that willful misconduct? I think that's for you to decide.
No, you're absolutely correct. It is for me to decide. But you said it was unreasonable for a minor to do it. And
well, do I think it's unreasonable? I think it's... I did them. I mean, what can I tell you? I did them. I don't think it's even unexpected of some amount. I'm not sure if it's expected with 4 people in the car if he was doing that. But there's a point I think that's important, Your Honor. Even if that occurred, a reasonable, knowledgeable adult, when they pick up a car that's screaming at them, don't drive me, would have it towed and not continue to make extensive damage to the car.
We're not sure that it would continue to make damage to the car because the neutral was being pushed most of the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your Honor, can I just say one last thing? David does
kind of like... You can say it without saying like.
Okay. David does have a reputation of kind of like driving rather badly, and
you just said like. I'm going to cut you right off because what you're saying is irrelevant.
Oh,
his reputation
David
about driving is... No, let me tell you something.
All right.
It's not relevant and it's inadmissible as to what his reputation is for driving.
Okay.
Because unless he had a bad reputation for driving and the young lady let him drive anyway, in which case maybe there's some contributory negligence here.
Uh-huh.
Did you know he had a bad reputation for driving?
Well, not a bad reputation, but I thought he'd be driving fine that night.
Did you complain about my driving at any point in the night?
We did say things to the effect of, Dave, what are you doing, you know? And he says, kick back, you know, or to something to the effect of, we're almost there, you know, don't worry. You know, just, he was kind of like getting upset about it.
I seem to recall driving the speed limit the entire night.
Take a short recess. I'll come back and give you my decision.
In your opinion, what should that decision be? Should it be for the plaintiff or for the defendant? We'll be back for Judge Wapner's verdict in a moment.
Does the sniffling and sneezing that's keeping you up at night tell you your cold pill isn't doing all it should? Does your coughing and sore throat give you the feeling those tiny time pills aren't so advanced? Then it's time to try the new NyQuil Liquid Cap. It has the relief you expect of liquid medicines for coughs and sore throats, plus relief for sneezing and congestion. The Vicks NyQuil Liquid Cap, the very first nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, sore throat fever so you can rest. Liquid Cap.
When teens cross the color line.
When I was dating Cindy, I wasn't dating a white girl. I was dating Cindy.
To have a successful black man, he rightfully belongs to a black woman.
You say who you want to date, but be honest about why you're doing it.
Can parents cope with black and white?
You know, most white people turn red.
Even if he were Arsenio Hall, I wouldn't accept him any better, or Montel Williams.
And is it because Montel Williams, Arsenio Hall, and Michael are black?
The next Montel Williams Show.
Today at 4 on Channel 13.
the time to taste the Welch's. Take the time to roll it round. Savor all that Concord flavor. Let it trickle slowly down.
Welch's grape juice. We've spent 100 years getting ready for this moment. So don't rush it. It deserves to be savored.
Take the time to taste the Welch's.
John and I were just in a car accident. No, we're both going to be okay, but can you pick us up? Also, can you call the legal rights defenders for me?
1-800-THE-LAW 2. Got it. So the legal rights defenders gave you an attorney who got your car fixed, got you a doctor, and all that money for pain and suffering? Excellent.
Yeah, and because passengers have the same rights, I got a settlement too. And we didn't have to pay anything until the case was settled.
Hey, 1-800-THE-LAW 2.
That's why I say, after a car accident, call one of the best attorneys in our community at 1-800-THE-LAW 2.
Remain seated and come to order. This court is again in session.
First thing I'd like to do is to compliment all of you, because I think you've gone about this, though you're not lawyers, but you've gone about it in a professional kind of way. And there's no vindictiveness about it, at least I haven't seen any. And I like the remark of the plaintiff when he said that David is still welcome at their home. That shows us certainly a sensible approach and a friendliness that I don't often see in court, and so I like it. And I thank you both. I made the statement about the liability of a parent for willful misconduct of a child or a minor. The vehicle code, and in double checking, the vehicle code has a separate provision. If there is civil liability on the part of a minor for negligence, but while driving an automobile with the express or implied permission of the parent is also liable, as well as the minor. So you don't have to have any willful misconduct. And I like your remark. You said it nicely and respectfully that that's a decision for you, Judge, to make. And most people want to make the decisions themselves. And it was a nice remark, sir, and I thank you for it. But does the plaintiff, or has the plaintiff proven by a preponderance of the evidence that the damage to his car was caused by what the defendant did in driving this car? My feeling is that in all probability, the damage was done by the fact that David was attempting to, or did attempt to, do a Brody, and that's when most of the damage to this car was done. Obviously, David's not going to agree with me. At least he won't admit it to me, I don't think. But maybe inwardly he may, and he may not. He may feel he never did do it, never did admit it. But I think from the testimony that I've heard and from the facts that have been brought out, that I think that that's most likely what happened. And my judgment is for plaintiff for $1,900.29.
Doug Llewellyn talks to the plaintiff and the defendant about Judge Wapner's decision right after these messages.
This is America's premier luxury towel. Extra thick, 100% combed cotton. The original Royal Velvet Classic by Fieldcrest. 18 colors, plus 5 new fashion shades introduced for the first time at Stroud's. And now, just in time for holiday giving, Stroud's will personalize your towels with a gift monogram while you wait. Buy the 3-piece ensemble, bath towel, hand towel, and washcloth, and get a 3-letter monogram on the bath towel. Something special for the holidays from Stroud's.
If you've been hurt in a motorcycle accident, call John Riley and Associates.
The insurance company lied to me, so I hired John Riley and Associates, and they got me $200,000.
The police report said I caused the accident, and the insurance company said my case had no value.
They said you didn't even belong in a courthouse.
And John Riley still got me $250,000.
If you've been hurt in a motorcycle accident, call John Riley and Associates, the motorcycle lawyers, at 1-800-99-CYCLE.
We'll be back for the litigants' reactions to Judge Wapner's decision right after this pause.
Allison Denny thinks her trash bags are strong. Can I get her to try Glad drawstring trash bags?
No, absolutely not.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Allie?
Uh-huh.
Well, what if we take a Glad drawstring bag filled with 25 pounds of last week's garbage and drop it onto your house? Not to worry, Big Al. Those Glad trash bags have 3 strong plies of stress flex plastic, and those red drawstrings tie up tight. Now will you try Glad drawstring bags, Allie?
Sure, even though that's not my house.
Is this rope important?
Oh, don't do that.
Whoa! Glad. Only the strong survive.
The Good Guys has a special Christmas present for you. 0% financing on every purchase over $100. From Hitachi, slimline Ultravision projection TVs with Dolby Pro Logic surround sound. The Good Guys carries the complete line of Boston Acoustics car speakers, beginning at only $49 a pair. Come see Minolta's exciting new XI cameras with power zoom lens capability. Buy at The Good Guys and make no payments until March. We're The Good Guys. We've got to be good. The Adolfo Tuxedo. Saks price $425. CNR $100 less every day. CNR, what a difference a store makes.
So Judge Wapner finds for the plaintiff to the tune of $1,900. The defendant's on his way out of the courtroom with his son. Gentlemen, how do you feel about the judge's assessment of the situation?
Well, I think it was probably fair. He's the judge. Do I wish it went the other way? Of course.
David, how do you feel about what the judge thinks happened and what you did?
I guess he's right, but I'm still convinced. You know, I was driving the car in a reasonable fashion, and yeah, that I'm not at fault.
Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Officer Burrell has some documents you must sign. Now the plaintiff is on his way out of the courtroom. Satisfied?
Very satisfied. My car's fixed, and now I can pay for it.
And David's still welcome at your house?
David's still welcome. He's a group of 10 or 12 kids. They're all welcome in my home.
And you guys are still going to be good friends, you think?
Yeah, try to be, yes.
Arnold's a pretty cool guy.
He's a pretty cool guy?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, right?
Yeah.
All right. You're going to be thinking about that for a while, aren't you?
Yeah, I guess.
All right. Thank you very much. Officer Burrell has some documents for you. Thank you, ma'am. And with that, we will wrap it up for this session of the People's Court. We're simply out of time for now. I'm Doug Llewellyn, thanking you for joining us and reminding you...